All right, let's talk about one of the first things every C programmer has to get their head around: file modes. You know, those simple one-letter commands that tell your program exactly what it's allowed to do with a file. And trust me, getting this right is huge. It can be the difference between an app that works perfectly and one that, whoops, just deleted someone's save file. So yeah, let's dive in and get this sorted out.
But first, have you ever really thought about it? How does your favorite app remember that you like dark mode? Or how does a game know to load your character right where you left off? Well, the magic behind all of that is something we call File I/O. Just a fancy way of saying the program can read from and write to files on your computer. And at the very heart of this process is the file stream. Now, that sounds a little technical, but it's actually a super simple idea. Just think of it like a pipe, a communication channel, right? Your program can push data into the pipe to save it, or it can pull data out of the pipe to load it. That's it. It's the essential connection between your code and a file. So before we can actually use that pipe, we have to, open the valve. And this first step is absolutely critical. This is where we lay down the rules of the road for how our program is going to interact with that file. In C, this is all kicked off by the fopen function. It's pretty straightforward, really. It just needs two things from you: the name of the file you want to work with, and, this is the important part for us today, a file mode. That little mode is the master instruction that tells fopen what you're planning to do. Let's start with the simplest and, honestly, the safest tool in our toolbox. This is the read mode. It's your ticket to just look at data without any risk of changing a single thing. And that mode is just a lowercase r. When you use R, you're telling your program, hey, I only want to get information from this file. Don't let me change anything. It's like a read-only pass, which is perfect for stuff like loading settings or reading a user's profile. Now, R mode behaves in two very specific ways. If the file is there, awesome. The program opens it up and puts the cursor right at the very beginning, all ready to read. But, and this is key, if the file doesn't exist, fopen just returns an error. It won't create the file for you. And that's actually a really good thing. It's a safety feature that stops your program from running if a file it's depending on is missing. Okay, next up is write mode. This one is incredibly powerful, but it's also the one you really have to be careful with. So the W mode is for writing data to a file. Now, if the file isn't there, W mode is helpful. It'll just create it for you. But the main thing to understand about W mode is that it's designed to give you a completely blank slate. Think of it like hitting the new document button. The whole point is to start fresh. So let's just imagine for a second. You've got this file, data.txt, and it's full of really important stuff. You might think, okay, I'll just open it in W mode to add something new. But this is where things can go wrong very, very quickly. Because the moment you open an existing file in W mode, it instantly erases everything inside. Poof, it's gone. All that old data just vanished, and you're left with a totally empty file. This is, without a doubt, one of the most common and painful mistakes new C programmers make. So please remember, W mode is for when you want to completely overwrite a file or start a brand new one. So if W mode is the nuclear option, what if you just want to add to a file without blowing everything up? Well, for that, we have the much safer, much friendlier append mode. Represented by the letter A, append mode is built for one specific job: adding new information to the end of a file that's already there. It carefully preserves everything you have and just lets you tack your new data on at the very end. And here's exactly how it works. If the file is already there, it opens it up and puts the cursor at the very, very end, ready for you to add more stuff. And if the file doesn't exist, no problem, it just creates a new one for you, just like W mode does. This makes it absolutely perfect for things like writing to a log file or adding a new score to a high score list. Okay, so we've covered the big three: read, write, and append. Let's pull this all together and create a simple way for you to choose exactly the right tool for any job. Here it is, your cheat sheet. If you screenshot anything from this, make it this slide. R is for reading. It's safe and it'll give you an error if the file's missing. W creates or erases. It always gives you a blank page to start with. And A creates or adds to the end. It never destroys existing data. Seeing it all side by side like this makes it crystal clear, right? We can even just boil this down to a super simple decision tree. Just ask yourself 3 questions. 1, do I only need to get data from a file? If yes, use R. 2, do I need to make a brand new file or completely wipe out an old one? Yep, use W. And 3, do I just need to add new stuff to the end of what's already there? Then A is your friend. It's really that simple. And there you have it, the fundamental file modes in C. You now know how to safely read, how to destructively write, and how to carefully append to files. But, this brings up a really interesting question, doesn't it? What if you need to read some data from a file, change it a little, and then write it back to the exact same spot? Well, that's where things get even more interesting, with modes like R+, W+, and A+. But that's a story for another time.